And Emma's recording just failed right off.
And Emma's gone.
Wow.
Well, we're still live streaming.
We're
I can
still
talk.
live.
Live from under the yellow awning at the Cactus Club Cafe on the ground floor of First Canadian Place in downtown T. Dot. It's a very fancy expert Business Pants Friday. That was all for David.
Deep Toronto cut right there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even. Do they even still call Toronto T. Dot? They did when I was up there. I don't know if
I
they
do.
anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Good enough. Good enough.
Yeah. Our generation did, but
joined as always by. Where is Emma lurking? She's gone already.
Emma is having technical problems. She's just the producer of the show. You can't expect her to get the tech properly.
Shows up late, leaves early. Wait, she's coming back.
She's back. It didn't work.
Our data queen is here. Ari coming to us live from Washington D.C. Ari, you're attending a big conference this week. What are you going? What conference are you going to? See if you remember the name.
I'm gonna
What's
meet
the name of the
some
conference?
nerds.
What's the name of the conference?
It's called Spring 2020. It's put on by the Council of Institutional Investors. What do you want from me?
Okay, she kind of knows the name.
I think it's called getting the band back together.
Getting the band back together.
She literally looked it up as we were talking because she was
that's our chief pundit extraordinaire, Matt Mascardi. Matt, why don't you introduce our fancy expert before we get rolling?
Look, it doesn't get fancier than the fancy expert we have today. I know we've had some fancy experts.
I don't know. Bruce Kahn was pretty dapper.
No, I mean, we had Emily Chu, we had Anu Shaw, we've had fancy experts, but David actually wrote a textbook. I mean, he actually wrote an academic textbook that he's teaching people. I'm not sure how I think that's as experty as it gets. We're joined by David Frazier of Mackenzie Investments. He's representing his own views, I assume, and not the views of Mackenzie Investments. But
as always,
that is rogue views.
That is absurd. Anyway, so David, do you want to say 10 seconds about what you do before we play the good game?
I stick it to the man.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm director of ESG research at McKinsey Investments. Continuing on I like to think compared to most ESG experts, a long career in ESG and sustainability. I currently am in charge of managing a multi-million-dollar portfolio on the carbon side, so ensuring that our carbon emissions stay under a certain level. I screen companies for the portfolio, and most importantly, at least to me, I engage with boards of directors, CEOs, sustainability folks at corporations, and try to get them to fill their gaps as it relates to their ESG profiles. So that's why I say I stick it to the man. I talk to CEOs on a regular basis about how their companies are failing their employees or the environment or society at large.
Always failing.
I do like that it's very specifically the man too. It's almost all men.
Yes. We all know that's true. Yeah, the stats back it up, Matt. We're not just this is not an anecdotal. Yeah,
I didn't need a fancy expert to count the number of women who are CEOs. I needed one hand.
All right, thank you for joining us, David. We don't have a lot of time today. Usually this show can go on and on. I know that David actually has a job.
He has a job, not like
so
us.
he's gonna be abandoning us relatively soon. So let's just get to it. We're playing the good game this week. I'll remind the people at home, the good game works like this. I pick out headlines that seem good. They just seem, make me happy. I don't know. We complain about everything. We stick it to the man. We yell at failure. This is our opportunity to, give back to those who hate our terrible attitude. So I read the headline. Our pundits give it a score 0 to 10. 0, they hate it. 10, they love it. And David, you will weigh in at the end and tell us really who's right. Maybe none of them are right. Maybe you want to kiss Matt's ass. It's up to you.
It's
highly used to be my boss, not my boss anymore. I don't have to.
Right, so you don't have to. Yeah.
I really
very liberating.
The window in which I told David anything that I thought that he should do was about a nanometer wide before David was like, you know what? I should be your boss. There's no way that this should be the case. And now he's all our bosses. Let's do this thing.
All right, let's start. I got three headlines from the unfortunately from the war in the Ukraine. Maybe maybe they seem good. So let's just start there.
Yeah, good news like Putin.
Yeah, I know. I feel weird calling this good news, but I don't know. Okay, let's start with Airbnb. They will arrange accommodation for up to 100,000 refugees from Ukraine. There are other companies making sort of similar pledges. Uber is giving up to $70. It's a strange number to cap to get people out of the Ukraine. Elon Musk is throwing his name around. He's handing out trinkets. But let's focus on Airbnb homing refugees. Is this good? Matt, come on, lead us off. Come on.
I look on its face, it's good. I know there's 1 million refugees they're estimating already that have left. So 100,000 is not a huge amount, but you can't expect Airbnb is supposed to be the one to house all the refugees anyway. So on its face, it's good. I'm wondering if it's contingent on like removing the rapey, assaulty problem that Airbnb has in its properties.
Ooh.
I'm going to give it overall, I'm going to give it a 7. It may be some corporate performative stuff.
It's pretty high, though.
It's kind of good.
Pretty high for Matt.
Too. It's kind of good.
Emma, are you officially back with us? Are you?
Yes. Hello.
Hi, Emma.
Apologies.
It's okay, Emma. Emma, why don't you? Did you hear? If you heard what we just said about Airbnb?
I did.
Why don't you weigh in here?
I'm gonna go sort of with Matt and give it a 6. I think that it is some corporate performance, but I also want housing for refugees, so I think I will take it where I can get it.
Ari, the data queen. Come on, Ari. Move us along.
Listen, I am torn because I am all for like all hands on deck. Corporations, you want to help out, help out. I do wonder that if they gave that money that they're going to spend housing refugees for 2 weeks, if it would have a greater impact
2 weeks.
if they gave it to the right like people that know how to help
Weapons.
people who are displaced. No,
Right.
like I don't know, UN refugee people. I don't know. Do they know what to do with the money better? Also, Damien, can I point out that it's not the
Yeah.
Ukraine, it's just Ukraine.
I do say that every time.
Yeah, every
I
time. But you
know.
also say nuclear.
Yeah, I like
so.
that. Yeah, I do. I say a lot
I'm
of things
gonna-
poorly. This is
I'm
why I was never
literally-
promoted at MSCI. I'm going to go on record. Never promoted.
Me neither.
I give it an 8.
Okay, and hey, Ari is our ray of sunshine here at Free Float Media. There you go, David. Is anybody right? What's your opinion on this?
So I'm taking a contrarian approach because that's what I do.
Ooh, I like it. See, I'm already happy with David.
So on its face, I think that it's a good thing, obviously. I think that the Ukrainian people need housing as they flee Putin's disaster. I totally for that. But I wonder why the same support wasn't offered for the Syrians. From in general.
Ooh.
Like when you look at the way that the Ukrainians, a white country,
Just say,
No
do you
one
really
will argue
wonder?
about
Do you really wonder when you apply the white adjective? Are you really wondering?
I just have to prove my point.
Yeah.
And I'm just
No,
building
I
my
hear you.
case.
I hear you.
Yes, I just wonder why the same amount of support wasn't given for the Syrian refugees when they were facing similar, the same kind of aggression from another country. In their case, it was their own country, but they were fleeing, and they happened to be majority Muslim, and they happened to not look white, and corporations were not lined up trying to help Syrian refugees assimilate into Europe. If you look at the way Blacks, Nigerian students, etc., are being treated in Ukraine, it's also very troubling. So I don't want to take away from what's happening to the Ukrainian people.
Do take
It's
away, yeah.
terrible. And I don't want to take away from what Airbnb is doing for them.
Sure,
But
sure.
I would just challenge anyone in this situation who's trying to help Ukrainians to remember that there are a whole host of other peoples that are struggling
Yeah.
in the world that need support too. Maybe
I think
even more.
I think what David's saying is that you're all wrong. That's the important takeaway here. And to your point, David, maybe Airbnb needs to have an actual refugee policy, an actual refugee program, instead of just like picking which times they care about refugees.
They do seem to have an algorithm. Like they housed 54,000 Syrian refugees by
did.
their own estimation. And Syria has like 17 million as a population. Ukraine has 44 million, and they're doing 100,000. They do seem to have like they are seeing
giving them a lot of credit.
There's some sort of math that they're doing. They're like, well, approximately X% of the population is what we're willing to house. I also love the irony that Airbnb is offering someone else's house as a refugee home, right? Like, it's not like they're like, oh, come stay at our corporate offices. They're like, here, stay at Susie's house. She's just some gig worker. Like, she'll clean up after you.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
True.
Blah, blah, blah.
All right, thank you, Matt. You know, I mean, technically, Matt, after David speaks, you don't jump back in. That's not your role, just so you know. I'm allowed to because I'm the host. I can really do whatever I want. I can mute you all. I can keep you all off. I can sing. Let's move on, because we got a lot more to do. So let's try to speed the train up here. Renewables surge as Putin's war fuels flight to alternatives. So, how about this for a silver lining, Matt?
That I can get behind. I actually wonder how quickly renewables would be a big deal in the United States if we just went to war with Texas and Florida. I'm giving this a 10. I love it.
It's unintended consequence, but yeah.
Oh, I disagree. I'm depressed by this. It is super depressing to me that the quickest way to get people on the renewable path is
World War III.
Is World War III. Like, that is, it has to be an almost equal like crisis to a world war in order for people to care. I'm depressed. It's a 3.
Ari?
I say whatever it takes. 10.
Yes.
Okay. See how she got right to the point? David, is anyone right here? We got a 3 and a 10.
I'm siding with Emma. I think in the balance, I think it's a bad luck that it took this to get that push. I will say, however, that Europe has been doing pretty well in terms of uptake on renewables, especially compared to the United States, by way of regulation, but also just like the way the sentiment among consumers and businesses. So I wouldn't give it as low as a 3. I think it was silly in general for Germany to rely on Russian oil and gas, given their contentious relationship over the many years. I think that was just, I never saw how that made sense. And I often think that Germany makes smart decisions other than when Hitler's in power. So yeah, I don't know. I think it highlights the fact that Europe is so dependent on oil and gas from these troublemakers. And I think in general, that's a bad thing. They shouldn't have been in the first place. I'm with you, Emma.
Thanks, David.
Well, no, he's not quite with you, Emma. He noticed that he did say that he wouldn't go as low as a 3. So I'm not giving that to you.
I heard I'm going with Emma at least twice.
But then he said he wouldn't go as low as 3. So I'm not actually giving you the win on that one. Moving forward.
Wow.
Okay. Moving
this
forward.
Is cruel.
Dictator.
I've been begging for. We have a concept called compensation clawbacks for executives, right? We've been I've been calling for ownership clawbacks for horrible owners. Is this the first ownership clawback? Here's the headline: Abramovich confirms decision to sell the Chelsea Football Club, and he won't even ask even for a single penny back. That's the headline. So an oligarch is selling. Matt's already shaking his head. Take it over, Matt.
I mean, if you read 9 seconds about Abramovich, he made his money through bribery, fraud. He coerced a judge. He's murder adjacent. He calls Putin dad, basically, like the equivalent of calling him dad, like a formal.
Daddy.
They're basically like family. I mean, he's straight corrupt, and now he's quote giving back, like giving back. Wouldn't this just be some sort of retribution for literally years and years of taking stuff? I don't know that I could call it giving back. I'm going to give this a 4.
Still a win for the Chelsea fans. Chelsea football, get rid of him. Emma, what do you think about this? Come on, you must be happy to get rid of this owner.
Yeah, actually, I kind of think I am.
Oh, yes.
And I'm pretty sure that the money from the sale is going to be going towards the Ukrainian people, if I'm not mistaken.
And that's
so
going
I'm
to be
gonna,
like a couple of $1 billion, right?
I'm gonna go with a 7.
Net
Ari.
Net sale.
I just think
I
it's
don't
so
know
crazy.
what that means.
Like,
Yeah.
He said he's not going to take any of the money. He is that rich that it doesn't matter.
That's
Like,
true.
that's bananas to me.
Yeah, I take money everywhere I can get it. You're laughing, but you know it's true.
That's concerning,
got a
Damien. We got to
coupon
talk
now.
about that later.
I'm sorry.
So I'm going to give this a 5. I did see his daughter go on Instagram and be like called out Russia for,
Don't hate me.
spoke out in support of Ukrainian people. But I mean, she's 26. I think that's what she has to do if she wants any sort of
What do you think about this,
positive
David?
branding.
You giving me first ownership clawback? What do you think, Dave?
I'm gonna throw a tangent.
Yes.
And I'm siding a little bit with what Ari said. So I think I think one of the Earth's biggest challenges in meeting all of our good goals in the future will be rich people holding back.
Thank you.
And this whole
Told you,
wealth
Matt.
inequality issue, I mean, Putin's is effectively he's an oligarch of Russia and has full control over that country, mostly because he's amassed more wealth than most Russians have in history. So I'm just trying to draw a parallel here. It might not make complete sense between what you guys are talking about, but I think rich people are the problem oftentimes, like the wealthiest, the 1%. I really do. And so I think I look at this and I think just that rich people are the problem. That's my tangential answer.
That's why he's
You guys
agreeing
are a
with you,
bunch of
Ari, because he
socialists.
thinks you're the
Bunch of
problem, Ari.
socialists.
I wouldn't call myself a socialist.
Let's move on to our next category, woke data. This is how we renamed ESG because, as everyone knows, ESG is a terrible thing to say. No one likes ESG. Woke data. Here we go. First headline: Salesforce.
David doesn't
will
like woke data either. I could tell by his face. He's like,
Salesforce.
Oh, so David might agree with me. Huh. Interesting. David agrees with
I'm
me
gonna try it
again.
again. Salesforce will tie executive pay to diversity, equity, and inclusion goals and sustainability goals. But the big headline here, before anyone starts writing this, is that the headline actually said will tie executive pay to DEI goals. Have we come to a point in the world where people know what DEI stands for, that they can use that in the headline?
100%.
I think so.
Yeah.
Wow. Brave new world.
Maybe you're the one that's behind on that, Damien.
I might be.
Mainstream.
Why I was not promoted. Come on, Matt. Help me out here. Is this good?
Look, there's zero information about how much pay will be tied to these goals. Like they basically got the greenwash marketing out of it. And Salesforce, to their credit, is not terrible at these kind of sustainability initiatives, as far as we can tell. But it's hard to celebrate a thing unless you know what it is. And then we know it's tied to variable pay, quote unquote. His base salary is 1.5 million, so that leaves another 23.5 million in comp that could be tied to it. What's our best guess? Like $100,000 is tied to this? I don't know. So
My guess
I'm going to
it'll be-
give it.
it's
I'm
gonna
going to
be
give it a
5%.
5. I'm going to
Yeah.
give it a 5.
5.
Because
You
I
don't
have
know.
no one has any idea. It's a nice greenwash right now until they say something.
Emma?
Don't care. Show me something. 3.
See, I like when Emma does that. Ari?
Wow.
Wow.
I thought this was good, but
Shocker,
oh man,
Ari.
I don't know. The fact that they don't say like how much, that's a great point, Matt.
Well, we're about to
six.
find out. We should be finding out in the next proxy statement any week now, I'm guessing.
For like April.
Oh, so we don't know. They won't say how much. Okay, I'm gonna give this an 8.
Oh, whoa.
Whoa.
David, you're a pro. Come on, what do you think about this?
So I talk a lot about this stuff with the companies that we talk to. And anecdotally, I spoke to a bank who will not be named for obvious reasons. The CEO of a bank who will not be
Bank
named.
of Scotia.
Don't do that. But no. And I brought up, among other things, but my biggest recommendation was that CEO pay should be tied to climate objectives specifically. And here's how I worded it. I said, and how I often word it, if a company has a goal to decarbonize by a certain percentage point, let's say by 30 percentage points, by 30%, by 2030 or by 2025 or whatever have you, if that's scientifically based targets, that is. And if they don't meet that target by the date that they set, the CEO would then lose between 5 and 15% of their total comp for that,
Total comp.
for that
Okay.
year. Yes. And that's how we recommend tying climate specifically to executive comp. And he got really upset, which is how you know,
Right.
you're really striking a chord and you're, really upset, like cursing and all of that stuff, like on a professional call.
So you're onto something. Yeah.
Oh, big time. And most companies we talk to, and this is over my years of experience in ESG, they don't do this yet. They don't tie exec comp to ESG issues, especially something like decarbonization. So I think Salesforce is showing leadership in that regard, which is why this
Thank
has
you.
to be above 5 for
Thank
sure.
you.
The fact that they haven't said the number is problematic. And also, they should lay out the full, like all of the metrics tied to ESG and the specific percentage points, and climate carbon should be between 5 and 15% of the total. 30% of total comp should be devoted to ESG at this stage. We want that to be a bit higher a couple of years from now, but most companies haven't even done that yet. So Salesforce is definitely one of the leaders by just saying that they're doing it.
Moving forward, boards embrace HR experts as burnout, high quit rates. I don't even like to say that. Boards embrace HR experts. That's the takeaway here. I don't like those last two words. They're stupid.
Look, you picked
Yeah.
this because you predicted it. At the start of
did
the
predict it.
pandemic, you
Yeah.
predicted that HR would become a source of CEO succession.
Which
basically.
is great for two reasons. A is focusing on labor, and two, it's all women.
Yes, it's all women who are heads of HR for the most part. So it's basically a female succession plan for leadership inside companies that was so marginalized until we hit a global pandemic, now super high burnout, and like the great resignation. I think this is look, it's not the bad thing. Like the burnout's a bad thing. But I like
Are you
the
about to
board
say
embracing,
good, Matt? You think this is good?
I think the board's embracing HR
You can't say
is
good. You can only say it's not.
is a
bad.
good thing. It's I'll say it is not a bad thing. I'll give it a 7.
Emma.
Ari.
Ari,
Emma,
I need
this
some
is so
formulation
great.
time.
come on now. Ari,
Oh.
what do you think?
I think this is a long time coming, but I think this is the right thing to do, and I think this is great. So I'm gonna give it. Well, it's a little late, so I'm gonna give it an 8.
A little late. Okay. Yeah. What about where's the employee representation on the boards too?
Yeah, well, dial it
Where's
back.
labor on the board? And David, I hope you fight for that, because that is the one glaring hole on boards in North America I do not understand. I do not understand how there is not labor representation on every single board in North America. But anyway, Emma, what's your score
Okay.
before we move on?
Okay. I'm gonna give it a 5.
Okay, David, is anyone right here?
I just have a question about your question. So when you say labor
Yeah.
representation, what percentage would you hope for?
I mean, how about at least, let's start with one seat.
Because you know that MSCI MSCI will give you a lower score in governance if you have an internal director, right? So
Well,
or
That's
more.
the
that's a
great
good-
irony, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay,
so
but
are they
no, but
wrong?
they don't. It's true, but the way the methodology works at MSCI is that if you're an employee representative, and this usually occurs in Europe, you're not typically not an executive, so you don't count as an insider, because let's be real, labor are not insiders at these corporations. They're very much on the outside.
I want Chris Smalls to be on the board of Amazon. That's what I want. That is the goal.
So have you
He's
heard
not
about
even an employee anymore.
Nope.
have you heard about mock boards of employees? Have you heard about this?
No.
No.
Yeah, so I read
tell.
an article recently. I cannot tell you exactly where I read it. I read a bunch of things, but there's a few companies have been experimenting with having like an employee board that like shadows the actual board of directors, and they share meetings, they have their own meetings as well, and they come up with like proposals and all these other things with like employees, junior level, senior level, mid management, etc. And that will be, I think, a good way of like addressing the concerns I think, Damien, that you're having. But I think it's a good thing that the board in general is removed from the organization. Like that's the way it's supposed to be. They're supposed to be objective thinkers
Right.
within the organization.
Counterbalance.
Yeah. So I wouldn't want a whole bunch of employees or even former employees on a board, to be honest.
That sounds like an Emma win almost.
I'll take it.
You
I'll
guys
give
are
it to Emma because
dour
I'm
today. I'm
in an Emma mood today. Let's move on. Next headline: Black doctor sues J.P. Morgan Chase for racial discrimination, aka banking while black. I'm not saying that it's good that this happened. I'm just saying I picked it because it's the awareness of the issue. Sometimes I pick headlines because that I want these issues to be made aware to the public. This is why I picked it. Understand, Matt?
I don't get the headline. What's the headline?
So
The headline is Black Doctor Sues J.P. Morgan Chase for racial discrimination, aka banking while black. So he's bringing a lawsuit against J.P. Morgan Chase.
She.
She. First of all, you look at you, like you did
Oh,
the
you're right.
you avoided the racial stereotype and then stepped right into the gender part. That's right in. So she went in with her signing bonus to a JP Morgan and went to go deposit it, and they looked at her and immediately started like it was like the 10th degree, and then they basically refused to like cash the check because they thought she was committing fraud somehow. Actually, there was, so this is like prevalent throughout banking. Like this is when in this country we talk about systemic bias, this is kind of what we're talking about, right? Like this kind of thing is everywhere. Okay, we know that. The real tragedy here was her actual signing bonus. So she's in family medicine. The average family medicine doctor makes between $200,000 and $240,000 a year in the U.S. And the average signing bonus is $25,000. Her signing bonus was $16,000. She's already got the Brown discount for being a black female doctor. Like I was more outraged. I was less outraged about JP Morgan than I was about how much her signing bonus was. And I wanted to call her up and be like, you need an agent. Get somebody to negotiate on your behalf. That should be $25K at least. So overall, I'm going to go with this is a 5.
Yeah, I don't even know how do you even rate this headline?
I don't even know.
I don't even know why I
give it a
included
5 because it's impossible.
No, Matt's wrong. It's a 10. Glad she's suing. Hope she wins.
See, I like this. That's the right attitude I'm at.
Interesting.
I don't like that the headline is saying that she's a doctor. It doesn't matter if she's a doctor. This sucks. I feel like they're pointing that out because it's like,
right, because she's
look,
more
a
important.
It's like, oh, she has a
yeah.
whatever job.
Even a black doctor.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Way off. 0.
Ooh, Emma, Arby.
Ari, you and I really
0,
switched.
10, and a
David,
5.
all across the board here. I don't think we've ever had a 0, 5, and 10. I mean, this is incredible. David, what do you want to weigh in here?
Minus 10.
Oh, okay,
Minus
yes.
10,
Why?
a negative.
Why?
I mean, so many reasons. The
Yes.
US. Where do we start?
Go ahead.
I did banks for like right out at MSCI.
Oh, you
That was my
did
thing.
banks
And I
already.
talked to them a lot, and I told them my mind often, and that often I talked to every single bank about the U.S. banks about their racial discrimination issues among like their employees. That's one big thing that's been class action lawsuits against J.P. Morgan included. About that, they seem to have an issue promoting black people. Does that sound familiar, Matt?
Sounds so weird. I've never seen that anywhere I've worked.
Just, never heard of it. So yeah, they have American banks seem to have trouble with blacks in particular when it comes to predatory lending. We look at the mortgage crisis, that the big losers were black families. And to hear something like this and the way that headline is just points to like even more racism. So would this have been a headline if this is just was I don't know, a construction worker who got a $5,000, $10,000
Right.
Sign-in bonus, or I don't know, a black VP who wasn't dressed quite nicely, didn't have a master's degree or whatever have you, who walked in with a nice sign-in bonus. A lot of people are getting big sign-in bonuses. It's black people aren't afforded that right to get a big sign-in bonus. You would think that over time these stories just don't affect you as much as a person of color. They do. every single time. Because it's like, what do I do exactly to get equal treatment in the society? But like, you do everything the society tells you to do, and then you still get shit on. Like, it's impossible. It's just impossible.
Do you find that banking in Canada is different?
Oh, the Canadian banks have problems with indigenous people. Okay, Canadians in general are racism. I just became a Canadian a couple of days ago. I can say our, but
Congrats.
you know,
Yeah.
Ooh, look at
Congrats.
you.
but no, our problem is with the indigenous population, not
Okay.
so much blacks, which is why I chose to
We
live
have
here.
that problem too. So if you
Well,
come
we
over
just-
here,
oh, yeah.
yeah.
We don't discriminate against who we discriminate against. We discriminate equally against everybody.
Moving on. I'm trimming as we go because we have 26 minutes left. How about let's talk about BlackRock. So BlackRock the headline is a new BlackRock shareholder vote that may rule future proxy battles. Here's what's going on at BlackRock. I'm sure you know this, David, already, but they're giving 40% of its shareholders essentially the right to vote at proxy meetings. So they're giving away their right to vote. So the question is the proxy season going to get sexier because of this, Matt? What do you think?
So it's
You like
40%
this? Yeah.
of the 4 trillion they have in index funds is what they're doing, I think, now. I think it's the greatest accountability slough of all time, right? Like Larry Fink can write letters all fucking day long about how we need to be climate, neutral, and everything is, we got equalities and all the ESG stuff. He writes the ESG stuff. And then he goes and he says, but we don't actually vote anymore. We gave that right to you. So whatever you do is up to you. Instead of basically owning his fiduciary responsibility, he's sloughed it off, right? It's the greatest slough ever. And for the genius of making it seem like freedoms in America and all that stuff, I'm giving it a 10 because it is the greatest
For the
slough.
greenwash.
For
Okay.
the greatest greenwash slough, I feel like, of all time.
Emma, I think you're going to agree with that, Emma.
I'm gonna
gonna
agree
give it a
with
0,
it
though.
and give it a 0. Dead on. Yeah.
Ari, you wanna give a 5 to make this confusing again, or what do you think?
Yeah. I
Okay.
This one in
David.
particular is
yeah.
a little over my head, so 5.
David will make it understandable because he's a
No.
professor.
I'm going to pass on this one.
Oh, really?
Oh,
He
wow.
fear of Fink. He has fear of Fink.
Think here.
Thank
fear.
you.
I
All right.
chose
Well,
to pick my
he
battles.
works at a fiduciary, so
It's your
I'm
right.
sure.
It's your right to pass, and it actually helps the show a little bit because we're up against it. Next headline. This is a new report. We reached out to the authors of this report. Hopefully, they'll be our next fancy experts. Here's the headline: Hiring female CEOs changes how companies describe women. Simply put, tapping women for leadership roles changes how an organization perceives women. So, this is a
Yes.
study. Yeah, go ahead.
Wow.
Go ahead, Matt.
So the
I know
context here is
Yeah, go
they did a study of Mary Barra becomes CEO of GM, and they studied 43,000 documents or something, and
SEC
like
filings,
a billion words worth of writing to find whether or not you change how you talk about your CEO when it's a female CEO. Do you use different language, right? And the author, the quote, the nutshot quote I pulled from one of the authors of
Nutshot.
the report. Yes, right.
Jesus.
Was, quote, "We think of women as more competent, but we don't like them," says research co-author Sandra Motz.
Wait, whoa. What?
What is
What
basically
that
what they
referring to?
found
What's the context? Yeah.
was
Oh, I see what you're saying.
like we think like a society views women as more competent but doesn't like them. And it's that which makes it amazing the way you change the language when a woman's actually in charge, because they actually did focus on they called it agentic language, which was like they're calling Mary Barra determined, and they used CEO-y language, but not like soft and caring and loving and warm and fuzzy like you'd expect. I love that they did I just love that they did a study on this. This feels like a study I wish I had done.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a 10 for that.
Well, Matt, they probably did the study because they're fans of our shows.
Well, I assume, yeah.
Yeah. Emma?
Nothing to not like. 10.
Ooh, another 10. Ari, come on. Come on, Ari.
I mean, this isn't shocking, and I feel like people, I don't know. I don't know the need to do a study about a thing that so many people feel already. Does that make any sense?
That doesn't sound like our data queen.
It really
It's just because
doesn't.
of the fact. It's just because of the fact that when you don't have a study, it
Yeah.
feels like, you know, when women have a certain, like collectively have an experience because there isn't a study, it gets discounted.
Mm.
Right.
Mhm.
So it messes with
But at
me.
least there is a
But
study now. Like, if there's going to be any progress made, my thought is like, all right, at least we have this study to reference now.
Men
No.
need things quantified before they take action, unfortunately.
And repeated 50 times.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
going to give it a 9.
Ooh, okay. David, want to
Oh,
weigh
it's
in
still
here?
good. 10, 10,
Yeah.
and 9.
I would give it a 9 as well.
Oh,
I agree
Ari
with
with another win. Ari, you're getting the early results of the
You and
Ari is in the
David
lead here.
are like
Uh,
of one mind right now.
Moving on to our next headline: Nations to start talks on plastics pact, seen as next Paris deal.
Ooh.
I just want to know how it's possible that we hate plastic more than we like air. Right? We're willing to like ban plastic before we're willing to fix air. Like it's that's kind of like just a funny thing to me. But look, it's necessary. It's basically a giant pool of plastics in our ocean, and we eat plastic every day. I'll give it. I'm gonna wait for them to like actually make a legally binding thing. But for now, this is progress. I'll make it a 6.5. Damien always rounds me up. I can see him doing
That's
it.
the way it works.
He did.
Score
Emma, go ahead.
sheet.
The beginning of this headline, nations start talks. So they aren't
Okay.
even far down the line in talking about action. So it's a 5.
Oh,
174 nations agreed to make a legally binding pact
yeah. So what's
by
the
2024.
Emma? What's the score?
Yeah,
if
and
they
they're
don't even
going to
start
get
the
that
talks?
document ready to be signed in 2035.
I hear you, Ari. You like this? You hate plastic. Come on.
I do. I dislike plastic. I'm just wondering how the Paris Agreement is going.
Yeah, I'd like an update on that.
Well, yeah. Well,
You know, talks are great. Talks are start, so I'll give this a 7.
okay, David. Anything here?
So-
Plastic pact.
I have a erudite view on this.
Yes.
Our fund recently joined the Investor Solutions on
Ooh.
plastics, and so we're talking
Okay.
to a lot of companies about this. Most of them have kind of their head in the clouds as it relates to their plastic waste. A lot of companies, but there is some movement, and I would say, from the government side, it's interesting to me when you ban plastics because you think, okay, well, what's the alternative? And the alternative right now are wood products, so forestry based, right? Outside of that, we don't really have any technology that's viable today to replace both. So you either have for food packaging in particular, you either have to use plastic or you use a cut down tree, right? Pick your poison. So, in the absence of an alternative, like a viable alternative that we can use today, I don't see. And maybe that's going to be part of the talks, but like it's a wasteful effort, right? It's still like we still end up with the same problem: either a lot of deforestation or a ton of plastics in the ocean, with no third option that's anywhere that any country or any company has come up with that's viable. So that's my concern. Like you can talk about it, you can make promises, but they made like Ari, exactly. Like all of these countries made promises to reduce their carbon and to report on it. Countries actually did that. Very few. How many of them are actually on target? Very few. So I don't know. I don't really buy. I don't buy that particular line of conversation. I would prefer maybe if they put some money, all of them, into coming up with the technology to replace both paper and plastic.
That sounds like he agreed with Ari again.
No, I think he agreed with Emma there.
Oh,
'Cause-
okay.
But
As
this
long
is
as it
all.
wasn't me, because apparently
These are all. Yeah, he hasn't
Can't
agreed
get
with
a
you one
win.
single time. These are all made up rules in my head, by the way. None of this actually matters, man.
This is
Moving
retribution
on.
from the nanosecond I was his boss. This
Yeah.
is retribution.
Let's do one more. We'll have one more headline, and then we'll do a quick little speed round to end the game. Here's our last woke data headline: U.S. soccer reaches settlement over equal pay for female players. Come on, how do you shoot this one down, Matt? How are you gonna rain on this parade?
Well, Emma's going to
can't.
say that it was too long coming and the
Okay.
settlement's not quite enough, right?
right.
And Ari's going to say that she feels like this is great, and it's about time, and I'm glad that they got it settled. And I'm going to say that I cannot believe that how much more men made for losing all of their games than women made for winning theirs.
And for having a team where I can't even name a single player. I don't even know a single one of those stupid dopes.
I don't know one of the men, and I can name like a
I know
half
all the
dozen
women.
of the women.
All
right?
the
Like I know like the entire.
They're stars.
US
They're
women's
stars.
National teams.
Yeah.
So because I'm so confused about the level of the disparity,
Mhm.
I don't know what to give it. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of sheer
That's it?
confusion.
How dare you, Emma? Come on. How could this be
Yeah.
bad?
So for a little bit of context, the
Yes.
settlement that they reached was a third of what they originally asked for. It was originally 66 million, and they settled for 22.
Were they suing for damages, or I mean, it's either equal pay or it's not, right? I mean, how do you know? How are they getting
So
less
the
than
equal
what they
pay
sued for?
portion of it is a
Yeah.
future-looking agreement. So it is
Oh.
from now onward, the U.S. Soccer Federation will be paying their bonuses in particular, because the bonuses seem to be kind of what matters the most when it comes to their money making. But their
Okay.
salaries will be the same, and their bonuses will also be the same. And it is future looking, so it's not going to fix anything. I think it is just damages. I think it's just like, oh, sorry, we underpaid you for
Whoops.
until exactly just now since your inception. Here's some money, and it was only a third of what they asked for, and it's being divided amongst a group of the U.S. women's national team players, so it's also going to be diluted even more. But it is progress. I have to give it that. I'm glad that there's an agreement in place, but unfortunately the other caveat is that a lot of their pay is dictated by FIFA. So like when they're going to the World Cup, which is where they make a lot of their money, FIFA dictates a lot of those rules. When it comes to pay, and they still have a long ways to go. So when it comes to holistically being paid equally, there's still kind of far to go.
When it comes
So it's
to
a
corruption,
Right.
human rights, FIFA has a lot of problems.
FIFA has a
right?
lot of
Pay is
problems.
not the big one.
So I'm giving it a 5.
Ari,
That's close to me.
Emma just blew my mind.
wait, what?
Like,
Yeah.
can't they do something about the FIFA? Like, if FIFA underpays them, can't they just pay them more to make it?
If
more
not, if FIFA
equal?
doesn't want to.
Does seem like
No.
math.
I mean, like, out of the U.S. soccer pot money, they should be compensating them, like, for whatever FIFA is not giving them.
Interesting.
I need
You
to
don't
talk
sound
to these
happy,
people.
Ari.
No, I'm not anymore. I'm gonna give it 6.
A what? 6?
6. That's Ari when she's the least happy. Is a 6.
All right, David. Do you want to weigh on this? Equal pay
have
for
3
female
words.
soccer players. Yeah. 3 words. Ooh, I like it.
Matt is right.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Matt, it's your first win, though. I'll let you have a win.
All right, speed round.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this portion of the game is the speed round. This one, these are a little goofy. I'm going to warn you, David. So if it's gonna ruin your standing at the company, yeah, you can pass. But I picked 4. I picked 4 headlines that either made me laugh or whatever. Who cares? But let's just get to your point. Everyone just get to their point quickly, okay? David, of course, gets a longer point. I'm really looking at you, Matt. Come on. All right, just get to it, okay?
It's not like I
Here we
talk
go.
that much.
Here's the first one. And David, you should know that I really picked these because I think Matt's going to like them. Because
Okay.
Ari and Emma think I'm, a lunatic. All right, here we go.
An idiot.
Beijing Olympic ratings were the worst of any winter games.
I love it. 10. It's awesome.
I love it too. 10.
Everybody.
I
hates the
also
Olympics.
love it. 10.
Oh, okay. David, do you actually like the Olympics?
I'm gonna have to pass on that.
I like that. That's the weirdest Olympic pass ever. The next one you might want to pass on too. Here's the headline, Matt. Aaron Rodgers, football quarterback. Aaron Rodgers' go-to cleanse could involve oily enemas, bloodletting, vomiting. What's going on here,
Ew.
Matt? What's going on here? Oily enemas? Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is the gift that keeps on giving. He's the Gwyneth Paltrow goop of the NFL.
He is.
fantastic that he keeps talking and saying and doing things. 10.
Okay, Emma, you agree?
He can bloodlet and get oily enemas, but he can't get vaccinated. 0.
Ari?
I am glad Shailene left him. 10.
David, you want to?
I'm siding with Emma. He didn't get vaccinated.
Ooh,
All this,
another win for it.
yeah, that's
Another win for Emma.
It's a loss
the
for
next-
leeches is what that is.
The next headline, we might have all of our problems might be solved, Matt. Here's the headline: a billionaire's heir hangs up his healing crystal to fix capitalism.
I have no idea what that means. I like zero idea.
That's the headline. Yeah, that's the headline.
If I have to do it on that headline, I'm going to say a billionaire's heir can do whatever they want because they're never going to not have $1 billion, right? So I don't care anything about what they do. They're
Here's the-
privileged to 0. I don't care.
Here's the context of this stupid headline. William Petterfee spent his career avoiding working for his Wall Street tycoon father until ESG became a thing. That's the context there.
There's so many
Aw.
billionaires. Who the hell is William Petterfee? How are there so many billionaires? And we're not
Emma,
0.
You
It's
also
a
want to give it a 0 too, Emma?
He grew up in Greenwich, Hartford County forever. 0.
Ooh, I like this. Okay, Ari.
This whole crystal thing's weird. 4.
Thanks for at least noticing the crystals.
I know.
David, you're shaking your head.
Billionaires are a problem. 0.
Billionaire.
Yeah.
You're on the right. David, you're on the right show to say that over and over and over. If
Yes,
you
you
ever
are.
want to come on the show, even for like 2 seconds, just to say that, maybe we get a soundbite of him saying that because you're
Actually,
on the
we should
right.
just hit it.
You're in the
we'll make
right
it on
place.
The soundboard.
Yeah,
We
you're in
just
the
keep
right
hitting it on
place.
repeat.
Yeah.
We need shirts that say that, Matt. Why don't we have
Not a
those
problem.
shirts?
Done. They'll be
Our-
on our Etsy store by tomorrow.
Our final headline, our speed round for the good game for March 4th, 2022. This is my hats off to the great David Fraser. Here's the headline: U.S. pension group CalPERS hires Canadian as investment chief.
Oh, that's just.
Come on.
So this
Pandering
headline
to
is
our fancy
you're not
expert.
rating who they hired. You're not rating CalPERS. You're just simply rating Canadian. This is just a Canada. No, this is where. This is terrible. Stop it.
Okay.
This is terrible. It's a 5. No one should care.
Wait, what's terrible? How dare you,
We're
You're
not
America.
here Anti-Canada hate. No.
David? Can I just say
America.
that these it's mostly Emma and Matt. It's really not Ari. They crap on my Canada love like nonstop. I'm so proud of my time in Montreal. They crap on me incessantly, and they suck for it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Welcome
Americans have like a strong ability, strong competence in ignoring Canada's existence. I've like recognized this in
I don't
Canada.
even know what Canada is.
Not
And
this
not
guy.
giving Canada due credit for anything. I recognize that. I don't know. Maybe they're jealous that we have
Trans Canada pipeline. I know that.
In fact, the only problem I really have with David Fraser is that he chose Toronto over Montreal. I still don't really understand that. But.
So my only issue with my great new country is that I don't speak French and Quebecers are not about
That's your issue. That's your
No.
issue, David. Learn French.
But Canada, the land of tolerance. They're cool. No.
See, look at this. See, they're going negative on Canada just so quickly. All right, Emma, what do you think about that headline?
Indigenous people.
Pro
I'm
Canada.
going to kiss some ass right now and give it a 10 in honor of David's new
Yes, that's the right
citizenship.
answer. Come on, Ari. What's your answer?
I like it when we hire foreigners. 10.
Go Canada.
I think David's gonna agree with that's a 10. That's the good game. Were you in the running for that job, by the way, David Fraser?
So, my life goal, my 5-year life goal is to be chief executive somewhere, a Fortune 500 company. So
Okay.
that's in my future. I'm putting it to the world.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
manifest
You
that
heard it here
shit.
first.
Yes.
You're
that?
looking
Well,
for a
if you-
CEO succession plan.
If
David
you
Fraser.
hadn't, if you hadn't said the Fortune 500 part, we would have voted to boot Matt. And
Oh,
bring you
instantly.
in.
We do it right now.
It's that
David,
simple.
I'm calling a board meeting.
Awesome.
proving your true allegiance. I'm looking at the scores here. It looks like it's a tie this week between you sided with Ari 5 times and Emma 5 times. So yeah, Matt, you got one lowly victory for Matt.
Do we need a tiebreaker real quick, Damien?
Who do you like more, David? Who do you like more, Ari or Emma?
No.
Tiebreaker.
No.
That's the tiebreaker.
All
right.
No, I'm here for women equally. So I'm just gonna give both.
Yeah,
of them,
you sexist. Damien, how dare you?
I'm just
that's the
giving
right
both
answer.
of them a point. No tiebreaker.
Before we get out of here, I'll quickly go over the scores. Emma, always the lowest score, 6. Matt, a 7, and Ari just above Matt with a 7.3. I don't know if you want to. I know we got to end this show. If anyone has any last final thoughts, Matt, you could take it over.
Well, I want to pass it to David to pimp something if he's got anything he wants to talk about. But buy his book.
Oh,
That's what you should do.
Yes, I wish I had it within arm's reach, but I don't to show you. But yes, do that. I want to talk about something very important though.
yes.
Deeply. I'm just wondering when, in any other situation other than board diversity, is 33% an acceptable standard? Like when you go to your car dealer, right? And you want a well-functioning car, right? You don't accept a third of a car. You don't accept a third of the tires you need for a car. You want the whole thing, right? Or at least this analogy is not making sense anymore. But my point.
No, I'm with you. This is one of my talking points, David. I'm with you, and you're being generous. It's not a third. It's usually capped at 30%, right? Isn't that usually the number that they throw out?
Yeah, you're right. You are right. But
not even
this
that high.
32% gender diversity benchmark threshold is a farce. It's unacceptable.
Yes, it's demeaning.
In very few other circumstances are we willing to accept a standard like that, especially considering that the world's population is 50%. When you look at the graduating, the best schools in the world, when you look at the gender diversity, it's usually in favor of women, tilted in favor of women. In all of the spaces that you can think of academically, employment-wise, women are rising, yet when you look at the board composition, we still only want a third female representation. I think this is, as a society, we're failing our daughters by doing this, by telling them that, we only need 30% of you to be on our most important body of any organization, and that's completely acceptable. No, 50% needs to be the number. I did some research recently, and I'm finding that 33% number is not as good for financial performance for funds, companies as we thought. And so maybe 44% might be that new threshold, that interim threshold on the way to gender parity that we need to start pushing, as opposed to this 33% foolishness.
Well,
come on.
I mean, to your point, Norway, which had one of the first quotas in the world, they started off at 40%. I don't know why anyone went down from 40. I mean, think about it, though. They were the first, and other countries went down from that number. And really why David brought this up is that he's applauding Free Float Media, who is officially 50% female.
That's true. And just like every other private company, the two owners of the company are white men.
That's true, too.
Don't
Yeah.
worry about it. It's taken care of, everybody.
That is quote solved. That is quote achieved.
That's all the time we have for. Thank you for joining us, David. A pleasure
problem.
as always.
That was
And
David
that's it.
Fraser,
Yeah.
our fancy expert, who we've known for a long time, a friend of the show. And you should check out David's book if you want to ace a macroeconomic exam, because he literally wrote the textbook on it.
What is the name of the book? Do you listen
How
to the
to
name of the
ace
book?
that
David?
macroeconomics exam.
That's
Oh,
what
I
it's
already
called.
have that book. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
that.
I know. Damien, if Damien could read, then yes.
Yeah,
that
I have
would
it in
been a
large
book
print,
that was
actually.
high on his choice of reading.
It's a good time
He's
to say
getting
goodbye
it.
'cause
He's
he left.
getting it.
Let's see it.
Oh, I thought he left.
Here it
Nope.
is.
Oh,
There
and
it
it's
is.
beautiful.
Oh.
Look at the colors. It's beautiful. That
It
is
has a very
beautiful
Canadian
book.
feel to it. I like it.
Go get the book. David wrote it. David is the ESG expert and the macroeconomics expert. Can we ask for more expertise? Otherwise, it's Ari and Emma and Damien and I'm Matt Muscardi. We are Free Float Media. If you're a fancy expert and you want to join the show, let us know. If you're not a fancy expert and you want to be an idiot on this show, that's cool too.
Yeah,
Come do
I
it.
prefer
We'll
that.
be back at you next week, every day here with more boring ass content. We'll talk to you then.
Oh.